Nora. Oh, welcome everyone to the 2020 Hyundai Veloster N. This isn't just my first experience with the Veloster. This is the first performance car from the new Hyundai N division. If you've been paying any little bit of attention towards this car, I'm sure you know the full story. And admittedly, I did too. I was pretty excited to find out a lot about this vehicle, and in my world, I usually abstain from watching or reading other people's opinions or videos. But this car I had to know more about, primarily because I didn't think I was getting one anytime soon. But this car has opened itself up to be one of the biggest surprises I have ever encountered. I've been living with this thing for a week, and I am ready to reveal to you everything that I've learned in my time of testing. So at the end of this video, I'll place it in my ranking system to see where it lies against other hot hatchbacks and performance cars. So this Veloster N, excuse me a sec. It comes with a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that produces 275 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque with the sole transmission of a 6-speed manual. There's rumors that the DCT is coming along soon, but no confirmation as of yet. And for the 2020 model year, the only differences that I could find is that for 2019 in Canada, there were only 3 colors available: the white, the black, and that performance blue, of which you'll see dotted around this cabin, including these seat belts. When was the last time you ever saw blue seat belts? But this 2020 now comes with a matte black and this red that you see here. So for the other vehicles that have those red accents to signify the N a little bit more, here those are replaced with black or dark grey elements. Now, as I said, this is my first experience with the Veloster in general, and I know it's a significantly different car to its more standard counterpart, the more consumer-oriented one, and there's quite a few differences that need to be shared. So starting off, this thing is lower, longer, and wider than the standard vehicle. Yes, lower, even with that wing. The ride height is dropped substantially, so these 19-inch rims can fill up the space a little bit more, and they're wrapped in 235 R19, and you'll note just a little HN that's on the rubber. This is a signifier that they have made these tires specifically for the N, a trait that you'll usually find in hardcore supercars, vehicles that have their own specific rubber compound from the manufacturer, in this case Pirelli. It's crucial to note though that you don't have a spare wheel in this vehicle, you only have a tire inflation kit. The exterior looks of the N, at first I didn't think I was going to like it, but it's really grown on me. There's just nothing else that looks like this car on the road today, with the shapely bottom and those lights that almost look like they were taken from a Lamborghini, is really attractive. The wing, although has a fake carbon fiber insert, I think looks really good. That center-mounted triangle brake light is so damn cool too. There's a couple of fake vents up front, but a lot that's functional as well. The side skirting here, see, has the N logo stamped in, and looks like it provides at least some form of air smoothing over the rear tires to make it more aerodynamic. For what you see on the outside, you'd think that the trunk space doesn't have a lot to offer, but opening it up, you'll see that it's very deep set. So the performance in this car is quite special. That is immediately what you find when you get into this car and you put a little power behind it for the first time. What this car has really revealed to me is how it continues to grow upon this character, how it continues to build up and be a car that constantly delivers. Here we have different driving modes. With this button on the left, you can go from normal, sport, and eco. And then with this race flag, you have N mode and N custom mode. Driving this car, I'm always spending it in between one of the two modes, either with normal or with N. You're getting all of those crackles when you hit the red line, and with the flashing of this light, it indicates when it's the best time to shift. And when I had this car, I was doing all of my mountain road fun. I was pushing it, but never to the extent where I thought I was getting to my limit or getting to the car's limit. Operating at that 7/10 that I felt like I was at was just absolutely tremendous in this vehicle. There was never a hint of understeer, never a suggestion that things were about to go wrong, apart from a little bit of intervention from the traction control if you were pinning it of the standard launch control and trying to bang the gears all the way up to the red line. That was really the only intervention the car ever gave to you. And you can immediately turn that system off if you wish with this button here. You have the fully engaged traction control, then the halfway mode with the sport mode, and then off entirely. And when you're driving hard, you want to be in N mode where the exhaust is louder and the steering is tighter. Incredible feedback through the steering. The brakes are strong and flat. You'll see on the brake calipers, they have the N logo stamped onto them. When driving along in normal mode, the turbo is the noise that you'll hear over anything else. It's got all of the whooshes and the surges and the blow-off valve noises that you could desire. But going into the N mode, it awakens the exhaust where the barks coming out of the rear of this car are the predominant feature. That adds a really fascinating element to this N. You can have one set of noises for one occasion, another set of noises for the other. It's a vehicle that's wanting to have even more fun than you are. It just continues and continues to deliver. The gearbox really, I think, is perfect. It's got short throws, incredibly rigid. It goes exactly where you want it to go. The clutch pedal is very easy to modulate, and when you're in stop and go traffic, you will appreciate that you don't need any throttle input at all to just get the car crawling along. If you had a Veloster N and you needed to teach someone how to drive a manual transmission, this would be an easy car to learn on. This thing has true performance merit, there's no question, but again, living with this thing, it adds something that I wasn't actually expecting out of it. It's incredibly easy to live with. I've been able to drive the Ford Focus RS, the Golf R. Those are two very different cars occupying the same category. The RS, it beats you up on a long highway drive. It really does feel like it's performance above anything else. The Golf, it's a very relaxing, very well built, incredibly quiet car with a 300 horsepower engine. This, when you get into it, you think it's going to have closer to the approach of the RS because the interior materials are rather low rent. The only soft plastics that you have in here are where you rest your elbows on the center console and here on the door cards. Apart from some performance blue touches with the buttons and the stitching on the steering wheel, the shift lever, and the seats, it's somewhat of a drab space. And on the highway, it's fairly noisy, just like how quite a lot of the old Hyundai vehicles were with the latest Santa Fe and Palisade. They've really made an effort to increase their refinement overall. And this is from the previous generation of Hyundai build quality, I suppose. All road isolation is a better way to put it. But the ride is supple. I'm driving along the highway right now with the drive mode in normal. Yeah, it's a little firm, but it doesn't at all feel like I'm taking a hit for the performance credentials that this Veloster has. I'm now about to go on an hour's drive back to Calgary to return this car, and on the drive that I took to get out to Canmore, I wanted to keep on driving. After an hour in that Ford Focus RS, I begged to get out of that car. I jumped out of that front seat as quickly as I possibly could. The 8-speaker sound system is actually fairly decent, and it's able to hide away a lot of the road and the wind noise if you are doing highway driving. The seats might have another element of it as well, and definitely aren't as aggressively bolstered for your sides or your thighs the same way that those deep Recaros are for the RS. If you're 6'4" like me, you're gonna find a very happy driving position very quickly. The seats are manual. Aside from them being heated alongside the heated steering wheel, there aren't many frills added on. If we were comparing this vehicle to the Veloster Turbo, the 1.6 turbocharged regular engine that you'll find in the top trim Velosters, there's a lot of things that you're missing out on in terms of technology, but this is what Hyundai had to do to get the N to an affordable price point. So personally, the things that I'm lacking, such as the active safety equipment, the blind spot monitoring system, the wireless phone charger, the heads-up display, I'm happy without. I don't need that kind of stuff, and it's honestly quite refreshing getting into a car where there are no safety systems or autonomous tech outside of your cruise control. The car has everything that I need. It has the heated front seats, the heated steering wheel, the touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and a little digital screen in between your two dials. So N has come about because Hyundai has hired the man that was largely responsible for a lot of the BMW M products. And there's a few traits that you'll find in an M product that you'll find here. For example, when you cold start the engine in the morning, there's a couple of lights that indicate a red line of where the engine isn't warm enough to operate at its maximum capacity. But as you drive along and the engine heats up, those lights vanish. And then after a hard bit of driving, you get out of the car, you turn it off, the fans are still pumping away to cool down that 2-liter engine. So the wacky things with the Veloster is the asymmetrical design of one door on the left, two doors on the right. Do manufacturers still think that young people don't want hatchbacks because they're not interesting or not sporty looking enough? Well, that was the intention with the original Veloster, so they kept it in here, and it undoubtedly adds a unique selling proposition for this car. What other car out there has 3 doors like this? The space up front for tall people like me is great. Getting into the back, of course, you have to slide over those hard plastic cup holders to get and sit behind yourself, and there's no way I'm sitting back there for any period of time. It's dark, it's depressing, and only the door side has the glass that goes down. The visibility isn't that terrible despite the outlook that you have with the Veloster, with that tiny rear window glass and the shapely C-pillar. That's not terrible. What is embarrassing though is just how little that rear wiper will get off in a situation where you need to clean that rear glass. For the first effort ever from Hyundai to build a performance car, this isn't simply impressive. The N is exceptional. And so that concludes all of my thoughts towards the Hyundai Veloster N. This thing, without a shadow of a doubt, is a segment leader. But when I got into this car, you know, the performance merit, what it's good at, is immediately apparent. But after spending a significant amount of time with it, its character continues to grow. It continues to outperform each expectation you have every time you reach that red line. Now, on a more of a personal note, I'm lucky enough to drive some fairly expensive cars, some entry-level cars, and everything in between. But there's probably only been 2 or 3 times in the 2 years that I've been doing this job where I actually felt like I needed to have this car in my life. I felt like I needed that upgrade. And this Hyundai Veloster N is truly one of those cars. I might not be in a position right now to buy a new car. I might simply not need a new car. But when the time comes, I'm looking for a performance-oriented vehicle. The Hyundai Veloster N is going to be at the top of my list. So that's been everything from me. Thank you so much for taking the time to watching this video. Please like the video if you liked it and share it if you think other people will like it too. And if you want to hit that subscribe button just down below, that does the world for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.